On Friday night here in Madison, the Chicago Union and New York Empire both delivered convincing victories. That sets the stage for tonight's championship battle. The underdog Union looking for their first title, and the juggernaut Empire seeking perfection for the second time in the last 3 years. The 2022 AUDL Championship Game is next.
The season began 4 months ago with 25 franchises dreaming of being on this stage on this day. But the last two standing, the Central Division champions, the Chicago Union at 13-1, and the New York Empire, the Kings of the East, looking for another 15-0 perfect AUDL championship. Welcome back to Championship Weekend 11 with Brian Jones and Charlie Eisenhood. I am Evan Lepler. We were anticipating two thrillers on semifinal Friday, but gents, they were not great games. Chicago and New York were dominant. What was the common thread, Charlie, and what do you expect tonight?
Very solid offense from both teams. Better defense. So much pressure from both New York against Carolina and Chicago against Colorado. And I think the D-line efficiency after the turnover, the real story, and that's how those games became blowouts.
Yeah, for Chicago, that was the story coming into the game. Could they do it? Joe White was fantastic yesterday. He can be the best player on the field. He was for Chicago when it mattered most. And for New York, such a dominating performance, period. Top to bottom, they got some contributions from a lot of D-liners. Matt Stevens throwing in a couple cheeky hammers as well. Great night for New York. Hope to be more of the same.
Let's talk about the Chicago offense, led by Pavel Giannis, who became the all-time assist leader in the league last week. Last night, he became the all-time completions leader in the league. But it'll be a different test against New York's pressure defense tonight.
That's right. He's got a great motor. He can scan the field and find the open option. He does that with a lot of pump fakes. He moves the defense with his eyes, with his arms, with his throws. On the other side of it, he never stops running. He just keeps going, keeps working through to keep the offense churning. And then finally, the downside of his game, if there is one, is ability to huck the disc in big moments, and that could lead to some turnovers tonight.
Yeah, I think we're going to see New York try to pressure that. But, this is where he is his best. Throwing to unders, throwing to space. We see him have success hucking, but under 60% this season, maybe a spot for New York to try to attack.
Ryan Oscar, first team All-AUDL a season ago, the presumptive MVP this year, had a bumpy divisional final against DC, but man, did he bounce back last night against the Flyers.
No turnovers, and he was happy to go downfield and tear it up as a goal scorer. All season, really leading the way in the backfield, throwing assists, but that's just how dangerous and versatile he is. When he gets pushed downfield, he says, you know what, okay, I'll go have a huge game as a goal scorer, and just so sneaky in small spaces. Maybe the best offensive player in the league right now.
Yeah, great moves in the small spaces, as you said. A great break thrower. A lot of different angles, able to get low releases out to space to Jack Williams, able to go up and get skies as need be. And you're right, he's had to change his game a little bit. He's got a great first step, a lot of jump cuts, finds creative ways to get open, and we can see one right here against Eric Taylor.
Breaking down Eric Taylor and getting some love from him afterwards. Nasty stuff from Ryan Osgar.
Great crowd expected. A phenomenal setting here in Madison, Wisconsin at the historic Breeze Stevens Field. Jeff Weiss, a huge downfield cutter. Dalton Smith has been in this game as a member of the Dallas franchise many times before. Paul Arders, a craftsman with how he manages the disc. Dave Woods leading the Chicago Union against Benyat, Jack Williams, and the rest of this superstar super team. Will New York be perfect again, or can Chicago become a championship franchise? Opening pull of the AUDL title game coming up. Back at Stevens Field, and our coverage of the 2022 AUDL Championship Game is presented by Tiege Hanley, the official skincare of the AUDL. Visit Tiege.com/AUDL for 30% off the first order of your subscription. By Stillhouse Whiskey. Stillhouse by design is meant to go where glass can't. Perfect for the outdoor occasion and tailgating. Stillhouse Whiskey is proud to be an official partner of the American Ultimate Disc League. And by TNNS, a rich ecosystem comprised of global athletes, sports tournaments, and sporting arenas, building a better future for sports. Buy your TNNS tokens on Bitmart now and join the crypto revolution. 99 years ago, the city of Madison purchased the land that Stevens Field now sits. It was built in 1925, and it is a picture-perfect evening here in the capital city of Ultimate. There were some thunderstorms this afternoon, some drizzle in warm-ups, but the skies have cleared, and it is perfect right now. Let's jump into keys to the game for this championship weekend 11 culmination. The Chicago Union, what's the key?
They have to survive this New York defensive pressure. Last night, it was absolutely incredible. They took Carolina out of their game early. Carolina collapsed. For Chicago, if they can withstand that first punch and escape this first quarter, tied or close to tied, it's going to be a great sign for them to win this game.
And on the other side for New York, it's about getting the energy high for this game. They come into last night's game, they know they have to be focused. They've been thinking about beating Carolina for a year. They come away from that game, even with the big blowout win, roaring with energy off the sideline. They have to have that tonight. You can't have a letdown here in this final game here against Chicago.
First personnel note for the Empire. Jeff Babbitt, who did not play in the fourth quarter last night because of some cramps in his legs, is on the field. He's active, he's starting, he's ready to go. Empire will begin the game on offense, which means Nate Goff, Tim Schock, Joe White, Dalton Smith, Asher Lance, Jason Valley, and Nick Pappas will start the game on defense for Chicago. Left to right, it's Rushmeyer Bailey, Yacht, Osgar, Chartok, Williams, Lithio, and the big Jeff Babbitt. And the game begins with a roller pull. Out the sideline, Chicago throws a curveball on the game's first pitch.
It is a little windy here in the stadium. It was windier earlier, but a crosswind, sometimes it can make it hard to throw the hammers over the top. New York has excellent throwers. We'll see how they work through it.
Elliot Chartok picking up the disc, wiped it off, and was called for a travel. So he retreats 10 yards. Joe White, Tim Schock on the double, and about a 40-yard loss. Jack Williams with a big receiving yardage hole to dig out of early in this game.
We've seen the Empire do that many times. They just want to get it off the sideline as quickly as possible and then start the offense.
They love to maintain that possession, but there are super dumps and then there are super dumps.
Nick Pappas gets the Jeff Babbitt assignment on the opening possession. Joe White is on Elliot Chartok. Some of the Colorado folks were saying how good of a job White did defensively on Danny Landisman yesterday. Took the youngster out of the game for parts of it. Ben Yacht, a bobble and a catch with Nate Goff defending. Here's John Lithio with Asher Lance nearby. Any thoughts on these matchups that we see in this first possession?
Goff versus Yacht. You got size versus size out there. And Dalton Smith on Ryan Oscar. The book has been to force him out the last few games, but he's getting a touch early. That's a good sign. A long possession to start things off for New York. Taking their time, working through this defense. If there's any downside to this New York offense is sometimes they can get stagnant and stand around and not get a lot of people moving.
Lithio with Lance in his pocket. Goff comes with a double team. That leaves Yacht open, but up the field it's Rushmeyer Bailey. And Rushmeyer Bailey has the assist to Ryan Osgar, who absorbs the bump and gives a little stare at the 21-year-old Nick Pappas. 2 minutes in, Empire score first.
Teams already feeling each other out, kind of getting the sense, what are we going to be doing here? Lithio sees a double team. I don't think you saw one last night, ever. And comfortably gets it to Rushmeyer Bailey. And then kind of blown coverage here in the end zone. Miscommunication. And Osgar Gets an easy catch and a little stare down afterwards.
You know who I am. Let's bring in the fourth member of our broadcast crew, Megan Tormey, who's covered every championship weekend since 2013, joining us from the sidelines. Megan?
Thanks so much, Evan. Charlie Hoppus of New York Empire had an interesting point about how his team is going to handle the team-wide defense that we have seen from Chicago, especially on display this weekend. He talked about how naturally his team falls into Plan B, Plan C, Plan D, and I think after that first defense display, we're going to see how quickly New York will have to adjust their offensive plan.
See what Plan A is defensively for New York. And a collision in the middle of the field. Jabron Meeser and Paul Arders getting acquainted. Both of them got knocked down. Both pop right back up. Gives us a chance to digest the matchups. It's Brownlee, Marquez Brownlee on Pablo Llanes in the backfield with John Randolph on Kyle Rutledge. John Randolph had the game-changing block yesterday in the waning stage of the first quarter as Paul Arders launching. Jeff Weiss with Yacht Cats nearby, but Weiss skies for the snag into the hands of Llanes in the red zone. Ross Barker. Antoine Davis against Ross Barker could be a fun matchup. And Llanes caught Brownlee sleeping for just an instant, and Arders found him for the early equalizer.
Great opening possession for the Union. They get the deep shot up to Weiss. He's got two defenders, doesn't matter. Ross Barker and crew find the end zone, 1-1. Here in the first.
Tiege Hanley, the official skincare of the AUDL. Visit Tiege.com/AUDL for 30% off the first order of your subscription. Seen staff members and fans with the uncomplicated hats here at Breese Stevens Field all weekend. Tremendous pageantry and ambiance for this championship weekend battle in Chicago and New York. Two dominant performances on Friday night. Chicago winning by 5 over the Colorado Summit. New York taking down the reigning AUDL champion Carolina Flyers by 6 in a rout that no one outside of New York perhaps saw coming. Ryan Osgar said after the game, even he was a little surprised by the margin of victory. Second offensive possession here for the Empire. They were 18 of 18 passing on their first possession. Chicago was 8 for 8 as they marched down the field for the opening Union score.
Already seen some matchup changes.
Weinberg shooting, Lithio in the end zone, beating Smith.
Interesting to see Dalton Smith taking the John Lithio matchup, and they punish it immediately. Much easier possession this time. Charles Weinberg out in space, goes back to the forehand side. And John Lithio versus Dalton Smith, going to be a mismatch every time, and especially when he's got 5 yards of separation.
Yeah, I don't know what Chicago is thinking there. Dalton Smith is a great handler defender. He's athletic. We've seen him come back up with some famous blocks in big games. But John Lithio is going to eat up that matchup all night long. Weinberg getting going early on. He's been that kind of auxiliary member. He didn't play the first point. You had Benyat on there, but Weinberg just has fit in really nicely to this Empire O-line all season long.
John Lithio just does the little things right for New York all game long. He was fantastic last night against Carolina.
Dalton Smith playing in his 15th career playoff game tonight. All but 2 of those with the Dallas Roughnecks from 2016 to 2019. Llanes marked by Sam Feder.
Well, New York wanted to potentially make Chicago a hucking team, and they did so in the first possession, but Chicago ready for it. They've seen it happen to Carolina. They know they're going to have to hit their shots. It's just going to be about shot selection.
Ross Barker gets it to Sam Kaminsky. Kaminsky out of the University of Minnesota, where he was college teammates with both Ryan Osgar and Benyat. Reset near the goal line. Arders takes care of it, flips it to Barker, who scores and dabs to tie the game 2-all.
Different looks from both teams. Ross Barker throwing up to you. And another confident hold from Chicago. So far, so good, handling this pressure. A little bit of a spicy situation there, but Arters handles it, and Barker's at the cone.
A little casual, but when you got that much space to work with, it's okay. You can just flip it up to a great athlete like Arters. And I agree. Chicago is surviving this pressure, and there's also maybe a little bit of lack of pressure from New York. They're not keyed in yet to these matchups in the way they were for Carolina, and that's what the challenge is. They had all year long to think about that Carolina matchup, who was going to guard who, and now Chicago, 24-hour turnaround. That's a tough challenge.
One of the interesting dynamics about championship weekend every year is you're facing teams that for the most part you haven't faced before. Chicago and New York met in a playoff game 8 years ago. There are no members of Chicago team from that 14 squad still on this team as we see the bidding defender sail by. John Lithio shooting deep for Jack Williams. Jason Valley with a strong contest, but catching it through the contact. Jack Williams for New York.
Jack Williams is so strong in the air, going up with two hands to make the play. And once again, it's Lithio making things happen for this Empire offense. Now, I don't know if you really want him to be the shooter. And this is a play that the defense is okay with, but Jack Williams, two-hand jam for the score.
Yeah, you could see Lithio double clutched it. He was seeing if the mark was going to come behind him, hesitated for a moment. And at that point, when you hesitate, the receiver ends up further downfield, and Jack has to make a spectacular play on it. If Lithio shoots that in rhythm, it's probably a much easier goal.
3 throws score there. There are 3 members of this New York Empire team that were on the 14 squad that played Chicago in the playoffs. Ryan and Mike Drost and Matt Stevens still active on the defense here. 3 of the all-time stat leaders, goals and blocks respectively. All right, 5 points in, no turns. Chicago back to work on offense.
Some matchups staying the same, some changing. Marquez Brownlee still on Pavlianis, which is not unexpected, developing into that elite handler defender. Benyat still on Jeff Weiss.
Jabron Meeser has the game's first block.
Huge play. We've seen him have a couple opportunities already. This time he jumps the lane a split second earlier, able to knock it away, and it's a very short field for New York.
Ben Katz picks up, sees the double team, gets it to Ethan Fortin. John Randolph in the front goal line, where he's been so many times in his college and club career. Benyat switched to the D-line early in the season, in part for situations like this. A floater, Yacht elevates, and he's hit awkwardly from behind by Arters. Yacht takes the hammer, looking for Davis, he's got it! Empire break first. The block from Meeser, the hammer from Yacht, and Antoine Davis looking for his second AUDL title after winning it with the San Francisco Flamethrowers 5 years ago. Paul's in the score. The undefeated Empire have the early 4-2 lead over Chicago. The Ultimate fans here in Madison have experienced many exciting moments. This is the 3rd championship weekend at Bree Stevens Field. Dave Woods and the Chicago Union down an early break after Jabron Meeser's block set up the Yacht hammer.
Jabron Meeser, he's an incredible athlete. He can play a shutdown style of defense, but if there's an opportunity, he's an elite block getter, and we just saw that right there.
How does Chicago handle the first punch?
Well, the TV timeout gave the offense a virtual gift of a timeout to relax and contemplate the upcoming possession. And a high throw through the hands of Ross Barker, spiked down by Ryan Drost. Randolph picks up. And a quick timeout taken by Charlie Hoppus on the New York sidelines. Wonder if John Randolph will stay on the field here. I mean, Randolph and Meeser, two absolutely huge mid-season additions for this New York team. Just game changers to add to an already stacked roster.
Phenomenal defenders. And, you know, you just said it, JR might stay on the field, and that's because he's a great offensive player as well. Smart. Ryan Drost doesn't try to make the catch there and have to initiate the offense. Maybe he's thinking about not having the coach call timeout, because if he catches that, T's coming quick.
He also wants to make sure he gets that block. Get the hands on it, put it down on the ground, add to your all-time stats.
Number 181 all-time for Ryan Drost. He trails only his brother Mike.
I mean, it feels a little bit, you know, the Union were able to get Colorado really out of rhythm yesterday. They started having drops. I'd call that a drop, what we just saw there after the reset turnover on the previous point. New York's offense coming out now. This is a big moment for this Union D-line. They got to come out here, try to get a stop.
Stat keeper called it a drop as well. Now, Ross had an early drop yesterday, but he didn't let it linger in his mind. He played a really solid second half as the Union took care of business.
Downside here of taking that timeout is get Joe White on the mark. He's a big body. He's been playing a lot of defense, especially in the handler space.
Randolph does not stay on the field. Neither does Yacht. It's the starting 7 O-line. Chartok and Williams in the backfield here. Bruchmeyer, Bailey, Oscar, Weinberg, Lithio, and here comes Jeff Babbitt downfield. Williams trying to shake free of Jason Valley on the reset. He couldn't do it, but an insane catch by Bruchmeyer Bailey.
A lot of physicality from Valley.
Deep shot for Oscar, testing Dalton Smith. Oscar bodied Smith, dropped the disc, but it was smacked free by Smith. It's a strip, it's a score. Second for Oscar here in the opening quarter.
Even when the Empire get in trouble, they come up with the big plays. Dalton Smith in better position this time, but Oscar bodies him out, goes up with the right hand, and it gets it knocked out. That's clearly a score. And just the bailout play in the backfield. Too many weapons on this New York team. And another great grab from Ryan Osgar.
That's a story. You can kind of back them into a corner, but then they can shoot themselves out of it. Jack Williams with a picture-perfect huck. Ryan Osgar, in that situation, makes a smart play. Gets the contact early from Dalton, even though Dalton Smith is trying to come in and box him out. There's really no chance for that. And the book that has been out on Ryan Oscar for the past couple weeks, we're going to force you out. We're going to put maybe a handler defender on you, Dalton Smith. It seems like they're starting to solve it. They seem more comfortable.
DC had the first mover advantage, got Ryan Osgar to have a 4-turnover game, in part by doing that, but he's a great player. He adjusted, and now they look comfortable.
Empire 3 for 3 on their hucks in the opening quarter. They were 4 for 8 in the semifinal win yesterday. Rutledge on the under to Weiss. Joe White is out there for this O-point for the first time, and here he gets the disc. Dishes to Arders. Those two have played together for a long time. Arders on the doorstep. Oh my. Oh, White accelerates incredibly at the last second to maintain possession. Looked like there were a couple open receivers for Arders to flip it to, but he chose to holster, and now on the big swing, Shanahan misplays it. And then Shanahan fouls Katz after the third Union turnover.
This is not the start Chicago wanted or needed.
Too casual from Joe White on the throw, too casual from Shanahan on the reception.
Marquez Brownlee shoots it deep. Jabron Meeser is open and he misplays it. And that's the first turnover of the game for New York.
The nerves of the championship game. An almost inexplicable misread by a wide open Jabron.
Empire began the game with 42 consecutive completions. Before that, throwaway technically from Bradley. New York now 2 for 3 on break chances as White shoots it for Giannis.
That's a big swing. Chicago gets the hold. New York blowing a golden opportunity for a third straight break. Instead, back to a 2-goal game.
Tremendous opportunity here for New York to register the third break in a row, but Meeser unable to come up with it in the end zone.
Just footsteps approaching behind. Jabron doesn't realize that that's happening and goes up too early. We've seen several players make that mistake this weekend. I think it happens. You're just so locked in with intensity. You get to the end of that route, you're ready to go get the disc in the air, don't realize you have enough time. A little bit of wind, maybe. I don't know. That's the classic misread.
Chicago back within 2, rolling the pull out of bounds. Closing in on 2 minutes to play in the opening quarter. 2022 AUDL Championship Game. Empire in this game for the 3rd straight year. Ryan, you coached the 2019 team to a victory over Dallas. Last year in TC, the Carolina Flyers prevented New York from going back-to-back.
This is a different Empire team, even when compared to that 2019 team that went undefeated. A lot of talent, a lot of great pieces, a lot of great performances we've seen.
Ryan Osgar, maybe the biggest name who wasn't on that 19 team, who's here now.
Chicago's been getting stall count up with great handler defense.
Playing, you mentioned it earlier, playing really physical on these New York handlers. Valley all over Jack Williams early to the point. A little excessive, but Jack's playing through it.
Weinberg all alone. Still unmarked until White comes nearby. And Babbitt was uncovered in the end zone.
Saw Nate Goff tapping his head. He wants a stall call. He peeled off Babbitt to come try to put some pressure in the open side lane. And call never came. Throw goes right to Babbitt, wide open in the back of the end zone. That's good pressure from Chicago, especially considering that New York basically started this possession in the red zone after the foul call and the double team.
Yeah, a little bit of a gamble there by Goff. I think he maybe thought that Joe White set the mark earlier so he could take the risk at a really high stall. And that's what's tough about this New York team. It makes defenses feel like they have to gamble and they get out of sorts. You mentioned earlier, Charlie, some really great handler defense. You can start there, but now you're starting to feel desperate, maybe down 6-3 in this type of situation, trying to get a block. It's hard to stick to the game plan when New York gets that early lead.
We've already seen much better defense in the backfield, though, than we saw from Carolina against New York last night. We'll see if it yields turnovers.
Which is
for the
pretty
Union.
shocking, right? Because if there's one thing you associate with the Flyers, it's that handler pressure from Elijah Long and Suraj Mataraju and Seth Weaver, the hometown hero here in Madison. Was not the Flyers' night.
Both teams have tried roller poles early, and they've had some limited success. The wind, a little bit of a factor.
Oh boy, Arter's reset does get to Weiss. And the shot to the end zone for Barker, who's running free for the score.
And, you know, this is the downside of the roller pole. We're seeing it. It's that teams don't have to go very far to score. You know, this is good pressure in the backfield, but smart reset from Arters. Weiss is coming down with that every time. And then all alone back at the end zone. Blown coverage again from New York at the back of the stack.
This is an interesting situation with 24 seconds left because I think more teams should do this. You want to have the last shot. Almost all teams do. You're almost in a 2-for-1 type of situation like you would be in basketball. Be desperate. If they score quickly, great. We get the ball with a chance to score. We don't want to let Chicago run the clock down. I'm wondering if New York's doing that here.
Possession began with 1:13, now 24 seconds left.
That's enough time for them to march down the field and get a good shot. They do not have to rush this.
Only one buzzer beater in the 8 quarters that we saw yesterday. Then Yacht to Marquez Brownlee after the crazy John Randolph hand block on Alex Davis. Yacht comes to it, hits Oscar. 7 seconds for New York. Can the Empire extend the lead? A hammer from Williams connects with Rushmeyer Bailey at the buzzer.
How did that connect? New York's end of quarter ability has been backbreaking to their opponents this entire season. And once again, Jack Williams with the pitch perfect decision throws the hammer, somehow sneaks it past Smith, sneaks it past Schock, into the hands of Rushmeyer Bailey. Wow.
2 words, playoff Jack. He's here, he's arrived, he's been around for a while. Let him do his magic.
He just throws buzzer beaters in the playoffs. That's what he does. He did it last year against Atlanta. He did it in the divisional championship game against DC, and here he closes the first to extend the New York lead. A strong opening 12 minutes for the undefeated Empire. 7-4, done with 1 here in Madison. Second quarter about to start here in Madison. We remind you that AUDL.TV is your home for the American Ultimate Disc League. Every single game throughout the season, all 150 regular season games from this year and games and championship weekends past. You can watch them all on AUDL.TV. Subscribe for less than $10 a month and support AUDL as we continue into our 2nd decade. In terms of off-season content on AUDL, the season finale of AUDL Weekly coming up on AUDL TV this Wednesday. And then the 2nd ever AUDL All-Star Game, just announced earlier this weekend, coming November 12th in Portland, Oregon at Providence Park. That's going to be one heck of an event in November. With the stall count rising, Barker floats it deep, but it was a well-placed put for Jack Shanahan. Chicago down 3 as we start this 2nd quarter. And Arters with a bobble, but keeps it alive.
That's a big play by Arters to snag that with the left hand.
And a few of those nervy grabs early in this game. Too high for Parker, and it's intercepted by Randolph. Quickly to Yacht for about 20 yards upfield. Antoine Davis on the under. Marquez Brownlee is all alone in the deep space. But Davis goes for the reset hammer for Yacht.
Chance for New York to really build this lead, and they've just gotten everything they've wanted. Unforced turnovers and a chance to convert another one.
They were 2 for 3 on break chances in the first. Union have not generated a break chance yet against the New York offense. And with the possession becoming slightly stagnant, Charlie Hoppus burns his 2nd timeout, his final timeout of the first half.
They just had played great offense. I don't love this timeout call. I mean, I understand it. They went 2 for 2 in the first half yesterday, so you want to punch it in when you have these chances in the championship game, but, you know, Marquez Brownlee's going to make a good decision there. I think you keep that D-line rolling.
John Randolph, Ben Yacht on the field as well. I agree. I think you let that one ride, but you know, as they say, you can't take the timeouts with you to the 2nd half, so sometimes it's better to use them early and know what you have.
And, you know, here's the thing. New York did this yesterday, too. They're making players make plays that they don't necessarily want to. Jeff Weiss doesn't want to be a distributor. And there he overthrows Barker. I mean, it should be a simple play, but Yacht far deep on that mark, maybe making Weiss throw a little bit more around, getting that disc up in the air a little bit more.
Good point.
Turns into a turnover.
It's weird when you play against great defenses because all of a sudden these unforced turnovers come about and you're like, well, these are unforced. And like you said, Yacht's there, it's a little bit tougher. It's when that happens, you get these string of unrelated turnovers, and that's the pressure from New York. Is their ability to make everything just a little bit harder than you're used to. And it takes a while to adjust.
No O-line turnovers yet for New York.
Double teaming Jack Williams at the front of the stack. They're saying, you know what, we've seen playoff Jack enough. We're not going to let him beat us here. Valley and Goff.
3 defenders on 4 guys in the end zone with Valley and Goff on Williams, and Jack still gets the disc. Can New York's O-line unlock this defensive puzzle that Chicago has presented near the goal line? We get a whistle. It's a pick called.
I'll give Valley some credit. He's making Jack work, but after a while, Jack, all those double cuts, you're going to lose him, and he did. He's going to find a way to get open.
Williams for Oscar, and he attacked it well. He had to because Dalton Smith was approaching fast.
And now New York going a little bit backwards. Finding the swing to Weinberg.
Weinberg throws another score. Same spot of the field, but in the other end to Jeff Babbitt.
When Jeff Babbitt explodes out of his stack to the front cone, no one has a chance. You could be the fastest player in the league and you're not going to stop that. And Jack Williams, Ryan Osgar, Jeff Babbitt, they are still the drivers of this team. Watch this move from Babbitt. Just rocks Tim Schock to sleep, and easy.
What more is there to say? Jeff Babbitt is an athlete that we have not seen since the likes of prime Bo Kittredge. He just has that acceleration, has the size. There's no one in this league right now that can take him in a foot race.
There's a Giannis Antetokounmpo feel about when he's going downhill and you just can't stop him. You just got to try and slow him down, but when he wants to get to a spot, you really can't prevent him from getting there.
This is a critical offensive possession for Chicago.
Sure is. Shooting it, Weiss looking for White, and it floats to the back corner of the end zone for Joe White.
Well, they're going to need more of that. Joe White's out there on offense now for a reason. He is the most dynamic player on this team. He can be the one throwing that disc, or he can go downfield, take the contact, and get the goal.
A spectacle of athleticism on both sides. It didn't look like Joe White was going to get this disc. Mike Dross, all-time blocks leader, giving chase, and White gets past it, boxes him out.
Is it possible Ben Yacht tips this throw? He might have grazed it with his left hand there.
Maybe he did Joe White a favor, but either way, that's an impressive run. Mike Dross looked like he had the right line to that disc when that went up, and Joe White just turned on the afterburners. Said, you know what, I heard you talking about how fast Jeff Babbitt is.
Let me show you some speed. Joe White's going to play a lot of points the rest of this game. I mean, he's already been out there on offense a bunch after they've gone down, and he's basically going to have to try to get them back in this game.
There's one player that can, it's him.
The other guy for Chicago's defense is Nate Goff. I mean, look, he's made huge plays in big spots this summer for Team USA, for the Chicago Union. And if the team from the Central is going to come back and win this game, Nate Goff is going to have to make a huge play at some point tonight.
Yeah, it feels like that's a negative play because you're losing 30 yards, but it's really not, because you get the disc into the center, into the hands of Jack Williams, and now you run your normal offense.
Chicago's sticking with that strategy, that roller pole to the corner, but it doesn't really seem to affect things. It puts New York almost into their best mode, which is play short field end zone offense.
Well, they're not putting any pressure on the big reset to Williams.
Lithio floats it up high, and Williams got taken out by Valley. Jack says, I'll take that.
Crowd doesn't like the call, but it's correct. I mean, Valley's been playing physically all game, and you can't let him bump him like that when he's going up for the catch.
Jack to the end zone for Lithio. Williams continues to produce. That's his third assist to go along with one goal. And New York has the 4-goal lead here in the second. Jack Williams trying to win his second AUDL title. Perfect completion rate, 3 assists so far. You know, we're a third of the way through this championship game. New York only has 1 turnover. It was the Marquez Brownlee Huck that went off the fingertips of Jabron Meeser. Now, over 1,200 games have been played in the history of the AUDL. Less than 3% of those games have had a team with single-digit turnovers for the game, but each of the last 2 championship games, the winning team has had single-digit turns. The Flyers had 7 last year. Ryan, your 2019 Empire had just 8 turns in the win against Dallas.
These big moments can bring out the best of these pressure, proof players, especially like Jack Williams. You've seen it time and time again. And here for Chicago, they've got a lot of players on this team that are skillful, that are talented, and they just have to be a little bit better. It's not that they have to change too much about what they're doing. Some unforced errors early are really giving New York this lead.
Sam Kaminsky back to Pavlianis. Giannis to the end zone for Rutledge. Got him. Tremendous acceleration late from Mike Kavira, but he couldn't make up the ground on Rutledge. And that's a huge hold for Chicago. It's our Stillhouse unbreakable moment as the Union convert to get back within 3.
Yeah, they're going to need their O-line to really stay strong the rest of this first half. You know, they only have 4 turnovers, this Chicago team. 2 of them drops. And this time, Pavlianis, through the contact, could have been a whistle, but advantage going to the Union, Rutledge into the end zone. Stillhouse unbreakable moment.
Pavel had 2 goals in the first quarter. That's his first assist of the night.
It's been interesting to watch the way they've been utilizing him because they've seemed to build this Chicago offense so they don't have to rely on just centering up to him. We saw them center up to Paul Arders. Pavel has been going downfield a little bit more to relieve the pressure, get other people involved. And I think that's a great strategy. He's playing within himself. That's what he's going to need to continue to do. You can't change your game in the face of this New York pressure.
Pull 1 hops for Solomon Bruchmeyer-Bailey. Centers to Elliot Chartok with Dalton Smith on the mark. And here's Jack Williams coming free underneath. Little shimmy downfield for Lithio. How steady has John Lithio been for New York? Been a real X factor.
Especially where the pressure builds, the focal points on Jack Williams and Ryan Oscar. Lithio finds a way to work through it.
Which way is this going? Dalton was close, and then Chartok gave a little push off, and they're going to call the first contact on Smith.
Valley is just being over-eager on Jack Williams, giving him a lot of physicality as well, and Jack's ready for it.
Well, they're not calling that physicality unless it impacts the throw or the catch. And so you can understand why Chicago is opting for that style.
Chartok back to Williams. Here's Ryan Oscar. Nate Goff defending.
Some good defense downfield on Weinberg. He made almost 3 consecutive cuts, double moves, trying to dance in the lane. And this is good pressure here from the Chicago defense.
Goff going hunting, but Oscar was there. Asher Lance nearly gets the block, but Babbitt with his strong hands hangs on.
Love this intensity. This is incredible.
It's about as close as you can get to a block without actually getting one. Lance is doing a heck of a job on Babbitt, staying with him stride for stride downfield. To space, Oscar runs it down.
How do you stop this New York team? It doesn't matter how good the defense is. They get the hold again and again and again. It's relentless. I mean, look at this. That's such a close play. I mean, Babbitt making the grab. And then they're just getting those resets. They'll lose 10 yards, but it just means that they maintain possession. And then what a perfect throw into the end zone for Oscar. That's so frustrating for a defense, Brian.
That's knowing your receiver there at the end, but yeah, that's demoralizing. And as a coach, you come off the field and you say, that's a great job, that's fantastic, let's keep it up, let's keep pouring it on, and you have to do that for Chicago.
And you're down 4.
You have to do that, though, because you have to find a way to get 1. And so that's the story. You've got to believe in this moment. Yes, we haven't gotten it yet, but we're going to get 1, and that's going to turn into 2. That will turn into 4, and that's how we get back in this game.
That's 4 first-half assists for Charles Weinberg. He had 6 assists against Montreal on July 1st. He didn't have more than 3 in any other game. Mike Drost defensively on Joe White as Giannis rips it. Does it have enough air? Yes! Tumbling grab for Jack Shanahan. And he's in for Chicago.
Ben Yant arguing with the referee, but that was a score. Shanahan dove, caught that disc, landed in the end zone. Had this low shot.
Pavel kind of put it through his hands in the air a little bit, saying, I wish I didn't throw it that way, but it was just good enough. The margin in these games is so thin.
You can see fully off the ground. I mean, that right knee, it looks like, hard to tell from that angle, but from up here in the booth, clearly in. Good call by the referee.
Assist number 395 for Pavel Giannis. That's more than anyone else in AUDL history. The University of Colorado product that beat several of his Mama Bird buddies last night who were playing with the Colorado Summit.
And he's a big reason that this team is top 3 in the league in hold percentage. Number 1, though, it's New York.
And we can see why.
New York has scored on 80.5 of its offensive possessions this season. Best rate in the history of the league. A bump and a foul called on Oscar here.
Yeah, I think that's been a long time coming. There's been a couple plays. It could have been offensive fouls, a push off there. Oscar marked by Dalton Smith.
But that's just in response to the physicality they're getting. It's a frustration foul.
Would you characterize Dalton Smith as a defensive agitator?
In a great way, yes.
For a long time.
Jack Williams to Oscar underneath. Smith, physical on the mark. To Lithio. How about that throw? No hesitation whatsoever. Low release for the 6'5" Lithio, and now the crossfield shot, and he snags it right next to Goff.
The windows are so tiny in these spots. Everybody's having to work, and this is a Jack Williams and Ryan Oscar game for sure, but it's also turning into a Charles Weinberg and John Lithio game.
Babbitt shooting it, Oscar with 20 yards of space.
This is a thing of ultimate beauty. Watching this New York offense play through this pressure. John Lithio making plays, Charles Weinberg making plays, Ryan Oscar making plays. New York up 4.
Just a few blocks down the road from the state capitol building to the northeast, it's the oldest playing field in Madison. Here at Breeze Stevens, the Empire have an 11-7 lead. Jeff Babbitt with a fine throw on that last possession for the New York score.
Yeah, the coaches have been begging him to throw deep in practice, begging him to stretch his game, and it comes out in the biggest of moments.
Speaking of stretching, getting worked on by the athletic trainer, strength and conditioning coach for New York over there. Has some cramps that he dealt with yesterday. That's something certainly to monitor. He didn't look like he was enjoying it all that much. Chicago backed up in their own end zone. This is where the pressure builds. Arters is a great release valve. Barker's going, and Arters underthrew it.
But another drop for Ross Barker. I mean, that's in and out of the hands. You've got to make that play.
It is a hard one to make when you got Antoine Davis barreling down on you. That one's coming in hot.
Marquez Brownlee. Remember, the Empire out of timeouts. And they turn it over on the reset. but there was a foul which will keep the disc in Brownlee's possession. Marquez has been mighty involved in this first half.
Think about how close these two teams have felt in the game, and yet New York have a chance to go up 5.
Told Marquez before the game that he set an AUDL record last night he may not be aware of. He's the first person ever to throw and catch a buzzer beater at championship weekend. He threw one last year, the end of the first quarter against San Diego. He caught one last night from Ben Yot, who can't make that play. Marquez, I like that. Versatile and clutch. I like that. Empire not able to convert the break chance, and there's a contact call against the Empire here, which will give Joe White 10 free yards.
And, you know, Marquez Brownlee, he's also getting better. You know, he's not just an athlete anymore. I mean, he's taking the primary handler on the other team's offense.
Has been doing that all season long.
Yes.
Sam Kaminsky has been bopping his head with a Frisbee when he catches goals ever since his college days in Minneapolis.
A couple light bops that time. Huge hold for Chicago. They really needed this one. And I mean, it's good pressure from Davis, but like that is right in the hands of Barker. New York D-line, though, gives it back. No timeouts that time. And Chicago offense goes back to work. Kaminsky gets free.
You can see why Charlie Hoppus has been using those timeouts early. D-line just not converting at the clip that you might want them to. They could have put this game feeling like it's out of reach into halftime, but instead, how this last minute goes is really going to determine how Chicago feels. They know their offense has not played, and especially Ross Barker, unfortunately, has not played his best game so far. But if you go them away here, find a way to punch this one in, come within 2, you're going to feel like that's a victory. There's so much pressure in this moment for Chicago and in this game coming into it, because you could kind of hear them talking about what it would take to win, and they started throwing the word perfect around. It is really hard to play perfect in these big moments. That puts an incredible amount of pressure on yourself. Every mistake feels like life or death.
Well, Ross Barker has been in a lot of big games in his career. We were talking to him earlier this morning about the 2012 state championship game in Minnesota between De La Salle and Washburn. Ross Barker was a senior for De La Salle. And in the closing seconds, bottom right corner, Barker buckets to win the state championship for De La Salle at the Target Center, the home of the Timberwolves. And he told us he's thought a lot about how he didn't want his athletic career to peak in high school. Of course, he went to the University of Wisconsin to play football. They found a heart defect, did not allow him to play wide receiver for the Badgers. He has dedicated himself to ultimate, and the 2 drops of the first half do not tell the Ross Barker story.
No, he's been one of their most important offensive players this season, and I think he's going to bounce back. You know, that's what great athletes do. And they were down in that basketball game, and he hits the clutch shot. And I think we're going to see him have a much better second half.
When he joined the Chicago team, look, they were not a winning franchise. This Chicago club was strong at the start of their tenure, but then struggled for about 3 years before returning to the playoffs. Dave Woods deserves a lot of credit. C.J. O'Brien becoming the owner, reestablishing the foundation, and then guys like Giannis, Barker, Goff, really resetting the culture. Chartok shooting for Yacht. A chance for Goff defensively. That's the first turnover of the game for the Empire O-line. An immediate timeout from Chicago.
Well, Yacht's a great player downfield, but Goff took his spot basically on the USA national team, played at the World Games this summer, and the pressure of Goff here forcing Yacht to try to go up too early. And how many players in the league can force Yacht to make that mistake? Not many.
He's got the size for it. He's got the smarts for it. Going up early. If Yacht waits this out, this could be an easy catch. But when you feel that pressure, we've seen it so far in championship weekend, you feel the need to go up sooner than you have to. As long as you give the effort, that's what you want to see.
So many points where we've seen great pressure from this Union D-line. Chicago trying to bail out of it early, or excuse me, New York trying to bail out of it early there with the Huck, and they finally get the Goff one-on-one. I mean, that is a win for Chicago no matter who he's going up against.
29 seconds to go. They get this one in. They're going to, I can tell you with confidence, they're going to feel elated to be within 2 with the way they played. And they know that pressure, if they can keep it up, is going to force any team into mistakes.
What will Dave Woods, Sarah Nolik, and the Union have for us here with 29 seconds to go?
Jack Williams out in the field for New York along with Jeff Babbitt.
John Lithio too.
End of quarter height.
All height and Ben Cass, who is the rule breaker for every defensive scheme he's been a part of. Looking for Goff. Babbitt is lurking. And Babbitt had it poked away. Goff says he was fouled, and the officials agree, and that stops the clock. 25 seconds remaining in the half.
This is why substitutions on timeouts are so fantastic. Look at all the great players on the field right now.
A drop from Joe White, and look who picks up the disc. Williams to Yacht with 15, to Brownlee with 13, to Williams in the back of the end zone for the score.
Utter disaster for Chicago. Jack Williams deflating the Union's hopes and dreams here at the end of the first half. What could have been a 2-point game is back to 4.
Man, that's harsh but accurately put.
I don't know what else to add. That is a backbreaker. That is a tough one. You can give all of the hype speeches you want going into halftime, but the fact remains, if you felt like you were Chicago and you needed to play perfect, you have not done so. And it's hard to keep up the winning attitude. It's hard to keep up the belief. You know what would help, though, right now? Is a response with a buzzer beat.
Getting one in here would be absolutely massive. I mean, that's the 4th drop. That's on 6 turnovers, 4 drops for Chicago. And just a point-blank under drop from Joe White.
And Joe White not out in the field for this final end zone heave.
Giannis gets it. Looking, unmarked. 3 seconds. Arders will let it rip. Final throw, unless there's a foul of the half. And it's swatted down by the New York goal line defense. 12-8 Empire at halftime. New York with just 3 total turnovers in that first half, and 2 of them were in the last few points.
Yeah, 2 of them were from their defensive line. This is just another clinical half of ultimate from this New York Empire team that has not lost this season. Feeling like a team of destiny here at the end of the first half.
Only 3 turnovers for New York. We talked about making sure they didn't have the hangover, that they didn't let up. They've been really great so far delivering their A game.
Halfway through this AUDL Championship game, the New York Empire seeking not only their 2nd title, but their 2nd perfect season. Charlie Hoppus, Anthony Nunez, and New York with a 4-goal lead. When we come back, we'll take you to our game day set. Ian Toner, Daryl Stanley, Cam Brock here in Madison.
One half down, 1 to go here in the title game at AUDL Championship Weekend 11 in Madison, Wisconsin. Ian Toner alongside DC Breeze head coach Daryl Stanley and the league's all-time leading goal scorer, Cam Brock. Gentlemen, New York's played a great first half. Offense only turned the disc over once. Chicago has a ton to clean up on the game management front.
Oh my goodness, the end of quarter, right there in that second quarter, you just saw it. What is Chicago doing out there? I mean, you've got 8 seconds. You got an opportunity to maybe get that score, even though you just messed up a little bit there. You got an opportunity to bring out your big O-line. Nate Goff could have been out there. He was not. Joe White should have been out there. I know he just dropped it. Who cares? He's 6'4". He's been a stabilizing presence for you. Why is he not out there?
It doesn't make any sense at all. And they had a timeout left. Like, if your guys are going brain dead and forgetting they're supposed to be out there, call the timeout. Give your guys a breather. Figure out who's going to go out there. But also, every team should come prepared with some sort of end-of-quarter offense and end-of-quarter defense line. I don't know if they just weren't prepared with that line. I find that hard to believe. But it certainly seemed like some of the Chicago players maybe turned their brains off, and they should have been getting back to the line.
Preparation is the word. These matchups are frustrating me too. I mean, Dalton Smith last night showed that he was a handler defender on maybe not the most important handler. That's really what his role has been for Chicago so far. And now we're seeing him out there on Ryan Osgar and losing track of him at midpoint because he's trying to see some other opportunity. The opportunity was on the probable MVP. Stay on your assignment.
Let's zoom out from that for a second and take a look at the first half stats. We look at the turnovers from Chicago, so many of them unforced errors from O-line players.
I mean, that's what's hidden here. You're going to see in a second. Chicago's got 7 turnovers, right? Okay, you're thinking it could be pretty reasonable. Depends on how they came. Well, I've got 4 of them right in front of me on drops. 2 by Ross Barker. He's supposed to be your steady reset presence out there on the O-line. Joe White has that drop that we just talked about at the end of the second quarter. And then Jack Shanahan, a guy who's out there to be a receiver, and he's got a drop and a throwaway.
The drops are really inexcusable. I'm not sure what's going on. It's so frustrating because that is such a preventable turnover. And, like, a couple of them have not even been on, like, hard throws. They've been missed clap catches. That's the thing. It's not like you barely got your hand on. I mean, these are in your breadbasket. You have to, especially in this game, you have to. When New York, is not going to give you the disc back.
Okay, Gam, drops aside. Looking ahead to the second half, what does Chicago have to do to mount a comeback here?
They got to fix up their matchups on defense. They cannot. You can't have Dalton Smith on John Lithio. Just like he is the mark right now. New York is looking to try to find who Dalton Smith is guarding, and they are saying that's where we're going with the disc, and it is working.
Daryl, New York.
Wow.
What do they have to do to close this out?
I mean, stay the course is the easy answer for sure. However, I thought last night, even though it was because Jeff Babbitt had a little bit of a cramp situation, I would love to see a little bit more yacht coming over to O-line and just steady the force. Just keep Chicago from getting those matchups right. Since they're clearly struggling with that preparation, just keep switching up on them. I think they're going to crumble.
Well, Chicago with an opportunity to capture its first title in franchise history. New York with an opportunity to complete its second perfect season in 3 seasons and capture its second title in 3 seasons. Evan Lepler and crew will have the story the rest of the way. Keep it right here on Fox Sports 2.
Back here at Breeze Stevens Field with the Empire leading the Union 12-8 at halftime. New York looking to make history with their second perfect season. They're also looking for their 100th win in franchise history. It's the 141st game for the Empire since they started in 2013. It's their 19th playoff game, more than any other franchise. Let's see if they can cap off the night with a title. Second half from Breeze Stevens Field coming up. Second half from Madison, moments away. Let's go down to the field. Megan Tormey with Empire co-head coach Anthony Nunez. Megan?
Thanks so much, Evan. Coach Nunez, you said your team was dialed in to get today, perhaps even more so than yesterday, and they have put on an impressive performance so far. Is any part of you surprised that they've been able to repeat what we saw yesterday?
Yeah, no. I would have been more surprised if they came out flat and not able to give it a go or like let up a bunch of breaks. We are dialed in. We're ready to go. We're one of the best teams in the country easily, and we have superstars at every level. We're using our depth, and that's what's creating this buy-in for this team.
Defensively, the pressure has obviously rattled Chicago. What adjustments, if any, are you going to make going into the second half to continue to generate more break opportunities?
Yeah, I mean, we might switch up some matchups and, change the force a little bit. But we're just going to be really pressuring them underneath and trying to make them grind.
And I have to ask, your team has been so good at managing Chicago's pressure. What are they seeing and how are they able to adjust?
So what they are seeing is, we're seeing a lot of physicality, and we have to battle through that. But we're looking to just move the disc laterally and then be able to attack downfield and get those huge chunks of yards that they're allowing our receivers to have. We're lucky to have those kinds of throwers that are also big bodies.
All right, thanks so much. Best of luck in the second half.
Thanks so much, Megan. Appreciate Anthony Nunez spending some time with us into the first 30 seconds of this second half. Empire beginning the third quarter with a 4-goal lead. Ryan, what were your halftime thoughts as you percolated about what we saw in the first 2 quarters?
It's tremendous defense, both sides.
Deep shot for Lithio, he's got it, and he's in with an effortlessness that belies the difficulty of that grab.
So smooth, John Lithio.
And big frustration, Chicago defense, as they give up the painful score at the end of the first half. And they give up the opener as New York gets their largest lead of the game, 13-8. And John Lithio continues his tremendous play this weekend. I mean, he has been a release valve. He's been a big target downfield. He's been a distributor in the underspace, and he's given them bailouts.
Obviously, we got a ways to go, but the Empire have scored the first and last goal of every quarter so far.
They're great in all situations. They have players that can do it all. And I want to remark here, John Lithio and Charles Weinberg are not considered the superstars of this team, yet they are connecting in a way that's making the offense run smoothly. They've been huge factors.
And the quarter situations are very important in the AUDL. And you heard Daryl Stanley at halftime talking about what's Chicago doing at the end of the half, not having their big bodies out there. And here we are, five goal deficit. Could have been 2.
Daryl Stanley's Breeze took the Empire to the brink 1 week ago in New York. Empire needed a walk-off buzzer beater, Jack Williams to Ben Ya, just to make it to championship weekend. A 19-18 heart stopper in the East Final. First offensive possession of the second half here for Chicago.
No Ben Yat on the field, and we didn't see Jeff Babbitt start the second half. He has been questionable throughout this game with some injuries. Wonder if Ben Yat is moving over to O for the rest of the game.
Arders the hammer for Weiss. Can't get it. High degree of difficulty stuff necessitated by the defensive pressure, or was that just a execution/choice mistake?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I kind of like the decision. Weiss is open over there, and just Jeff Weiss kind of slightly misread it, to be honest. It's a difficult play to make, but more slight miscues causing Chicago turnovers.
Ethan Fortin layout to keep possession alive. Randolph to Brownlee, who shoots it. It's a dime ball. Antoine Davis all alone in the end zone. Another Empire break as New York takes its largest lead of the night.
Eerie similarities to last night's performance from New York against Carolina. Coming out hot the second half after building a lead in the first. And look at this, 6-goal lead for New York. The shot from Arders to Weiss. Weiss kind of gets turned around, can't make the play. Possession saving grab. And then Brownlee on a platter to Antoine Davis.
It helps when you have a speedy receiver, but man, was that a nice looking throw from Marquez. His form is so smooth. Both of those players forming that connection, both great athletes.
Second assist for Marquez Brownlee. Second goal for Antoine Davis. And the Empire convert their 4th break of the game in 6 chances. Chicago has only had 1 break opportunity through the first 26.5 minutes tonight. Dalton Smith out there on O. Tim Schock out there on O. Nate Goff, Joe White as well. Jason Valley 2. And another turnover, but there's going to be a foul called on Mike Drost, creating contact with Dalton Smith in the backfield.
It's a bailout whistle from the referee. Smith missed that on the first effort, and I don't think he's making that play even if that contact doesn't come.
Tim Schock had a very solid semifinal yesterday. He's caught for a travel here, though. Tim Schock had 23 completions in the win over Colorado, 2 goals and 1 assist. He hasn't had a chance to touch the disc on defense today. Big bid from Kopira. Look at him pop back up. Kopira, former Madison Radical. Played here at Bree Stevens Field earlier in his career. Here's Goff. A laser for Valley. Giannis wasn't open. Goff for White. It's taken Chicago over 4 minutes to get on the board here in the second half. Can they convert here to stop the bleeding? Giannis looking for something to shock. Back to Pavel. And there's a foul away from the play. It's on the Union.
A little chippy.
Well, nothing's coming easy right now for the Union. Empire are not given anything simple. White for Giannis. Took him some time, but ultimately they do punch it in. Chicago with a 5-goal gap separating them from the Empire here in the third. Back here at Bree Stevens Field, Union trailing by 5. Let's go down to the sideline. Megan Tormey has the halftime thoughts of Dave Woods. Megan?
Thanks so much, Evan. Both Coach Nolik and Woods acknowledge that it is very difficult to determine what needs to change defensively because they feel like they're putting on such intense pressure and it's just not generating opportunities. They both alluded to a few personnel changes, hoping that they might find the magic key to generating more break opportunities here in this final.
It's so hard when you're facing a great team to figure out what to do. It has been great pressure, I agree. And sometimes it's just not enough.
Jack Williams unleashing deep for Ryan Osgar. On the doorstep, John Jones sets the mark, back for Weinberg. Williams to Osgar to start the point and to end it for the Empire.
There are no answers for Jack Williams. They tried to double team him earlier, and he sprinted out of the double team and got the disc anyway. And now he's throwing a monster huck to start an offensive possession, going all the way down the field, getting the reset, and throwing the goal. Ryan Osgar, Jack Williams have been better than ever this weekend.
Really dynamic duo. I want to go back, though, to that talk at halftime Dave Woods is giving us. We don't know what else to do. And that's why it was so important for the Chicago offense to have their A-plus game, to let that pressure build and mount. But when New York's getting breaks and keeping the offense off the field, they get rested. They feel like, you know what, we have a margin of error. They have 6 points to work with. They don't need to worry mentally about the pressure getting to them.
New York was only broken once by the Flyers yesterday. They have not been broken here tonight. That's 6.5 quarters. Only getting broken one time at championship weekend for the O-line. Pretty impressive stuff. Jeff Weiss, he had Shanahan, but he holstered it. Up the line, Popple. Momentum took him out of bounds. He gets it back to Arders. Giannis underneath for Weiss. And a huge layout from Shanahan. Look, Chicago's offense, other than the drops, has not played poorly by any means. New York has brought significant pressure, and for the most part, they've handled it.
They've done a great job of working through it. Giannis is having one of his best games. It's just hard to play your best and have to do it time in and time again. But they're finding ways through it right now. These matchups are so fun to watch.
Shanahan, Scuba tipped by Arms, caught by Barker. Just how they drew it up.
Well, maybe a little lucky bounce is exactly what Chicago needs to get something going. Very solid offense from Chicago. And it's just, again, straight jacket defense from New York. Shanahan saving the possession. And at this point, Chicago's offense has to basically be perfect. Carter's thought that was for him, and instead who gets the assist?
Jack Shanahan gets the assist.
In these moments, you just need someone to spark belief. I've been talking about it a little bit, but you can give all the motivational speeches you want. You can try to pull out your tricks and defense, double teams, whatever you want. I would stick with the game plan. They're going to go with the roller. They've done it earlier.
That's a good one. They got it all the way past half field, and they're still going to get the stop double team. Maybe they can try to put some pressure on this backfield reset to Williams. He's way out of your screen.
Trying to pivot through the double team. Is it a travel or a foul? It's a travel.
That's a good call because Tim Schock did not create that contact. Chartok fell into him.
Rushmeyer Bailey all the way back into the Empire end zone for Jack Williams. 80-plus yards to go for New York. Of course, we know they could get that on 1 or 2 throws. Or they could take 30.
Who's going to make the play for Chicago?
Union don't have a block yet in the game. Only 3 Empire turns, all their own miscues. Good to see Jeff Babbitt back in the game. We saw him getting stretched out on the table, been dealing with cramps in his legs both last night and this evening. Nearly a block for Asher Lance, but again, it's Lithio. Babbitt for Oscar. Shooting it. Weinberg didn't expect it. A whistle and a timeout taken immediately by Chicago.
Just what they needed. They needed the turn. They needed to find some hope. They got to find a way to punch in this break.
We'll take the timeout too. Union looking for their first break of the night when we come back. Oh, the Yacht family is here in one of the suites at Breeze Stevens Field with a big Ben Yacht head. Ben's older brother David is here. His parents are here. Ben is the second oldest of, I believe, 7 Yacht boys. His younger brother Gabriel played in the ADL this year for the Tampa Bay Cannons. Made his professional ultimate debut. Ben turned 30 last Saturday night, and what a way to celebrate with a buzzer beater to take your team to championship weekend against your rival, the DC Breeze.
That's the craziest thing about all of this. How great the Empire have looked so far this weekend. They almost weren't here. DC had an opportunity to knock them out before they even reached championship weekend. I think that goes to show you how good DC is.
Survive and advance. That's why they coined that term. Just survive your division rival. It's hard to beat a team 3 times. The Empire were up as much as 5 in that game, but the second half comeback brought it close.
And here's the start of a possible comeback bid for Chicago.
Well, it's a big gap separating the 2 teams right now. Interesting, Mike Drost looked like he was going to set the double team, and then right when Pablo picked up the disc, he ran away to go poach in the lane. Giannis gets it to Joe White. Horizontally for Jeff Weiss. Back to Kyle Rutledge.
Cats just switching every matchup, going in the backfield trying to mark.
Deep shot for White. Randolph defending. And it's the cleanup man, Dalton Smith, who's got the trash and then throws a wobbler for White for the first Union break of the night.
Whatever works. Whatever works. It's a good deep shot from Barker. I mean, White's got steps. He's got the height. And it's just a misread, but Dalton Smith does what you have to do. Stay with the play. He makes the catch. And this is scary here at the end. Randolph almost gets a piece. Then I think he does get a piece.
That's incredible. Like you said, it doesn't matter. They got the break. Any way it happens, you needed a little bit of luck to get back in this game. It doesn't matter how it happens as a player. Something's going your way.
Watch one more time. Randolph almost takes it away there and then gets a piece of it, but Joe White stays with the play. And now Chicago's got some energy.
Oh, the Union fans, some of them have made the trip from the Windy City. Chicago has not gotten a ton of cheers like this through the years at Bree Stevens, but the Radicals fans, the local fans, the visiting fans from around the continent here for championship weekend want to see a tight game down the stretch. Heck of a hammer there from Chartok to Babbitt.
He's been rock solid, picking up the disc in those double teams to start possessions.
Stall count rising on Lithio. Secondary reset is to Chartok. Weinberg. Lithio. Good defense up line by Smith. And Dalton Smith has the poach block.
Such an intelligent play by Dalton Smith. He anticipated that throw coming up the line.
Shooting it long, it's a floater. Asher Lance, John Lithio, Jack Williams, Nate Goff coming to clean it up. And nobody can come up with a disc for the Union.
So close. If that Smith Huck doesn't hang, big momentum swing here.
Weinberg lets it rip. Valley pursuing Lithio. Valley gets there!
My goodness! The crowd goes wild. Valley ran him down from 5 yards away, makes up the distance and gets the block.
Insane closing speed for the 25-year-old UChicago product. Fourth break chance of the game for Chicago. This is the line that Dave Woods wants to trust. He wants to save that last timeout. Nick Pappas can't get there, and another opportunity squandered for Chicago. In the final minute here in the third.
Yeah, another mistake for Joe White, but picked off.
Holy cow. Empire O-line for the first time tonight coming undone. And Chicago has scored 2 straight.
What a crazy point here at the end of the third quarter.
That's 2 straight breaks, 3 straight goals since the Empire led 15-9. And Chicago will receive to start the fourth.
We were talking about a potential great all-time offensive performance from New York just a few minutes ago. 3 turns, and now we have 7. 4 consecutive turns from New York. Dalton Smith gets it going with the heads-up play. And they can't convert for Chicago, but they get another one, an incredible chase by Valley. Don't convert on that one. Well, 3 times the charm. They finally punch it in. And then we got ourselves the game.
Now we didn't even see the final pickoff there. Just a crazy sequence.
Lance to Pappas to finish that point. Now interesting here, you got the New York O-line that has been shaky the past couple points. You get the end of quarter to factor in.
Good job by Chicago to shut down the pull play to Babbitt.
The crowd certainly on Chicago's side right now.
This feels like the first true adversity New York has faced all weekend.
Williams could have taken a huck to Osgar, but he did not fire. Yacht catches near midfield with 11. Jack Williams, the guy they want to have the disc in his hands. He'll just rip a prayer. But Empire had the numbers in the end zone, and Jeff Babbitt does it again for the New York Empire. He's such a beast, and he comes up huge at championship weekend regularly for New York.
Was there any doubt? Was there any doubt? Jeff Babbitt with the size, the speed, the read in the back of the end zone. Never any doubt for New York.
end of quarter brilliance from the New York Empire, and the lead is back to 4.
Another buzzer beater throw from Williams, another buzzer beating catch from Babbitt, and New York, they'll be pulling to start the 4th, but Chicago will not be able to get within 2 immediately because of that guy. Jeff Babbitt, huge for the Empire again. Just like 2019, Jeff Babbitt at the end of the 3rd quarter with a huge snag in the end zone. But there was actually 1 second left, so we went into break. Marquez Brownlee launched this pull, and Chicago with 1 more chance. This happened moments ago to get back within 3 after the Babbitt buzzer beater. But as you'll see, Marquez Brownlee ensures that there will be no Chicago heroics in the closing second. So we go to the 4th, 12 minutes left in this championship game. New York has a 4-goal lead. Chicago starting on offense. What's the mindset here for both teams?
So for Chicago, let's get this hold and then get back to defense. You've gotten turnovers. You now have that. The door's open just a little bit. You have a little bit of belief, and you have to build on that. And if you're New York, it's keep going with the effort that you have presented yourself with the entire weekend, a championship performance on defense.
New York had 3 turnovers on that 1 point where the Union had 3 break chances before they finally punched it in. They got within 3 at that point. Thought maybe they'd get the disc with a chance to get within 2 at the start of this 4th quarter, but no, Jeff Babbitt, again, just like he did, he broke a tie score against the Dallas Roughnecks in the 2019 championship game. And then, Brian, you remember your Empire received to start the 4th quarter. Harper Garvey double team the sideline, hammer to put your guys up by 2. And you won that 1st quarter, that 4th quarter comfortably. I believe 26-22 was the final after it was tied 19-all late in the 3rd.
End of quarter situations are so vital. Empire have a bunch of cheat codes in the deep space.
Barker, backhand for Shanahan. Ben Katz used his mark to prevent Pavel from getting the Frisbee. So it's Kaminsky instead.
The marks have just been tough all game long from both squads.
Barker lets it rip. Yacht chasing Weiss, and Jeff Weiss comes down with it.
Big time play by one of the best deep receivers in the league against one of the best deep defenders in the league. Ross Barker, as expected, stepping up here in the 2nd half. Kind of a low line drive, Huck to Weiss. Yacht gets a play on it, but Weiss does so well to shield him off with the left and go up with the right.
Yeah, Yacht made up a lot of ground. This shot looks good from the beginning, but hung in the air long enough, and Ben Yacht showing off the speed, but just didn't activate soon enough. And Jeff Weiss, a great goal scorer this year for Chicago, continued to grow into his role.
Hard to believe it's his 1st goal of the night. He does have 225 receiving yards, which is the most for the Union.
5 of the last 7 goals have gone the Union's way.
We'll see if New York's offense has any jitters left over. Chicago continuing to use this double team to start things off, not letting New York get into a rhythm.
Chartok with a stall count rising, might have been fouled. And it's caught by Oscar. And Lithio's running free. Tim Schock barking at one of the officials. Not sure if he was asking for an offensive foul, a travel, or a stall.
Yeah, he wanted a travel call on Chartok there as the stall count was rising. And let's see, does he move that pivot foot? I think that's perfectly clean. He never moves that foot. And it's frustrating. I mean, they wanted to get some stall calls tonight, and they just have not come. And then Lithio getting free. I mean, they're generating pressure with these double teams, but Chartok's been perfect tonight.
Looked like a gymnastics floor routine by Elliot Chartok there to get that disc away.
I'll give him a perfect 10 after he gets it off to Ryan Oscar and gets the goal. But you're right, that pressure is mounting, and when you're doing those double teams, it's feast or famine sometimes. You put them into a high-pressure situation, you get the stall very high, but as soon as Shartok found Oscar, it was over.
But I think that's actually okay for Chicago right now. You have to try to force the issue and give yourself a lot of defensive possessions in order to try to claw back into the game. You just trust your O-line to go out there and get holds like they have been most of this second half.
Second straight trip to championship weekend for the Chicago Union team. They had a 3-goal lead over the future champion Flyers last year, but Carolina came back, won in overtime, and that's not going to work for Kyle Rutledge. Ambitious throw and a quick timeout from the Empire sideline before Matt Stevens and Mike Dross could handle their way down the field.
That's the second D line for New York out there, and they were running something switchy, some poaches in the lane, and Rutledge had Barker open, but couldn't execute on the throw. It's just a little weird, it's a little out of rhythm, it's a little out of system, and that's what's kind of been like all night long for Chicago. Unforced errors, but at the hands of New York's defense.
You can see what Rutledge saw from that camera angle. It just doesn't execute the throw. It has to be so good. And he turns it over, puts it into the ground. And of course, the New York coaching staff with 2 timeouts not going to ask this second D-line to try to go the full distance. They did their job, got the block.
That's their one job. They might be disappointed in that we don't get to see more handler Mike Dross, as we talked about earlier today, but when you have the New York O-line and a chance to go up 5, you've got to take it.
Ten minutes, 7 seconds remaining. Empire through 3 quarters, 4 for 6 on break chances. I mean, overall, Chicago's offense has been almost as good as New York's.
It's been a great performance. Great defensive pressure. Not a great offensive performance at the beginning with the drops and the turnovers they've had. They want those back, but they found something in the third quarter. And it's a question of when New York has to go full field, can they continue to deliver that pressure on defense?
This D-line patched together for the playoffs, adding back so much talent, and they have their work cut out for them here. Can they get a stop?
Valley on Williams. Jack gets free.
White working really hard on the mark against Shartok, but finding Jack Williams in the reset space. There's a great comfort in that.
Moments ago, we were just asked in the booth to start thinking about our championship game MVP ballot. And while you don't have a vote at home, you can let us know who you think should be the MVP. Jeff Babbitt has a case. Are you not entertained?
Offense just has so many pieces. And Jack Williams has been unstoppable tonight. Role players are doing their job, and Rushmar Bailey is taking shots deep.
And that's not his primary role. It's not, but when you see someone with steps, that's Jeff Babbitt. Anyone can put it. Anyone.
How do you not?
It's in rhythm. It's a great shot. That's one of the things you don't want to put your players in a box for these moments for that precise reason. Because if Rushmar Bailey is afraid to huck it in those moments, then all of a sudden you have Chicago bearing down on you with even more pressure. You have to find a way to mitigate and work through it.
He says, let's pile it on. 5-goal lead again for the Empire after that break. Time running down for Chicago.
The Empire defensive pressure is not cooling off. Power position, Kaminsky unleashes the backhand, and Barker's got it. Nearly a block for Antoine Davis. Barker takes the free reset for Weiss and gets it right back, and he's not in. Barker doubled from behind by Yacht. Does a couple pirouettes, and Weiss narrowly keeps it up.
The pressure keeps building from the New York defense.
And precious time ticking away, and the red zone turnover. It's the first of the night for Chicago. They had been 8 for 8.
Will we see the timeout? One left for New York.
This line, they're going to let him play. Randolph, Katz, Yacht. Those are the 3 guys who've touched the disc so far. Scuba back for Ben Katz. John Randolph floats it. Antoine Davis. And a riser, but Fortin runs it down. Didn't have a defender nearby. Jeff Weiss inches away from a block. We're under 8 minutes, and New York trying to stretch the lead back to 6. Fortin, bold shot, it'll work. Yacht's got it for the Empire.
Brilliance from the New York defense. And the D-line offensive efficiency, fantastic. Red zone opportunity goes awry for Chicago. And they work it around. Ethan Fortin staying calm, cool, and collected. And then laser beam to Yacht back in the end zone.
Well, dire straits here for Chicago. Jack Shanahan and the Union down by 6 after the Empire registered the break. But earlier tonight, our Tej Hanley ultra smooth layout, courtesy of the big fella, Jack Shanahan. If you want skin as smooth as that layout, go to tej.com/AUDL for 30% off your first box. Jack Shanahan was relatively quiet in the semifinals. He's taken on a more active role tonight. Brian, 7 and change to go, a 6-goal deficit. Can you concoct a recipe here for the Union?
Get a lot of blocks, get them fast. And they're capable, but it starts with 1. You can't be thinking about all 5 that you're gonna need after this hold. You gotta do it once.
Joe White from Giannis, let it rip. Nate Goff goes up to get it. And Dalton Smith, a straight line run up the field for the quick conversion.
Looked like a little pull play string call off the line, and I feel like Chicago could have used more of that tonight. Get the ball to Joe White, send it to Nate Goff, and that's a very nice hold for Chicago, but of course the onus will be on the defense here.
More importantly, a quick hold. Not much time off the clock. You've got 6 minutes and 48 seconds. You can get 5 turnovers in 6 minutes and 48 seconds. It's possible. It's going to be hard to do against this New York offense. But again, it starts with 1. It's the hardest thing to do in these moments is start with the first one.
Roller pull again. Could have been a stall call last time against Chartok on the sideline.
Tim Schock trying to perform a little voodoo act before Elliott picks up the disc. Babbitt is all alone. Osgar. And back into the hands of Jack Williams, who I think I speak for the 3 of us. The front runner for MVP. Perhaps that throwaway would have changed things, but it was a clear foul. And the officials make the call.
He's so dangerous with that quick backhand release. I mean, you can't really stop it. And when he throws it to the ground like that, you know it's a foul.
Saw the North Carolina there, and Jack used to getting booed.
That should be a 10-yard penalty easy. Could be 20.
Should be a 20. I mean, that's no play on the disc. That's a backpack. I know the pressure's high and trying to make a play, but
I think that's what they're talking about.
Clock's still ticking there. I think they made a signal to stop the clock. Chicago's like, yeah, there should be more time out there.
you can't bid through another player's back.
Yeah, Chicago's been riding the physicality line tonight. That obviously goes well past it.
They did add the 7 seconds that ticked off back to the clock. 5:37 remaining. Chartok for Williams.
He's been drawing that Joe White matchup all night long and has just handled it extremely well. Navigating his way around the marks. A lot of trust in Elliot Chartok's hands.
Jack doing Jack things right now.
Empire not in a hurry to score.
Nor should they be. Under 5 minutes to go here in Madison. New York narrowly getting past DC last week to keep their perfect season alive. They improved to 14-0 last night against Carolina with a convincing 6-goal win. And tonight we were tied at 1s and 2s, but since then the Empire have played with a lead.
I mean, this is brilliant time wasting from New York. They are burning clock. And the game about to be fully out of reach for Chicago.
Chicago realizing it, starting to leave some people open deep.
New York sitting on just 7 turnovers tonight. That includes the 3 turnover point, and really the only bad point for the O-line the entire evening. Franchise record low, 8 turnovers. They've done it 3 times.
Oscar with perfect float for Limpio. 3 minutes, 1 second off the clock. No turns. Precision offense from the team that's looking like the 22 champions. New York by 6, 3:47 to go. Good times on the Empire sideline. They're feeling like champs. They're 3 minutes and 47 seconds away from getting the AUDL trophy for the second time in the last 3 seasons.
The 2019 championship team was a great team, one of the great teams all time in the league, but this 2022 version is a step above. We're seeing some special performances.
Giannis is going to shoot it long. Jack Shanahan and Ben Yacht, and Yacht wins the foot race. Taps it out the back and into the seats.
Giannis had no choice. I mean, they obviously have to force the issue right now.
He's had a good game up until I mean, I think that's the 2nd turnover.
Yep.
He's played an excellent role for them tonight, and it's been some other pieces that unfortunately did not have their best performances, especially early, that made this game out of reach.
Giannis leading the team in offense, leading the game in offense, 542 yards.
And now the D-line gets some run for New York.
We're going to start here in the D word for the New York Empire. It was in an Ulti-World headline earlier today. The dynasty continuing to build for New York. This is their 3rd straight championship game. This would be their 2nd title in 3 years. And you think back to the middle of the 2018 season. I mean, they were 4-5 through 9 games in 2018, but closed strong, got the huge win in the monsoon in DC in the 1st round, then shocked Toronto up in Canada in the East Final before succumbing on this field to a really feisty Dallas Roughnecks team. Since that 4-5 start to the 2018 season, the New York Empire are 47-5 in their 52 games since, including the playoffs. Antoine Davis extends the Empire lead, and the celebration is moments away from starting here in Madison.
You think about it, they had an off season of nightmares. Waking up in cold sweats thinking about Carolina to get to this moment. And there's a hunger that exists in this team that you can just see. The relentlessness they attack on defense over and over again. Ben Yacht, been MVP on the O-line for 2 years. Move over to D-line, ready to keep attacking. They've been doing that all weekend long.
I struggle to come up with time when I've watched an offense and a defense play such complete games against such high-level teams. And you know, they've made the games in some ways uninteresting. I mean, it's hard to call this game uninteresting. It's been fantastic action, but Chicago never had a foothold.
They didn't play their best first quarter. They needed to. We talked about they needed to survive that initial punch, and that would have given them that belief. And they're a capable team. They made some great plays. They have incredibly talented receivers, handlers.
This was a 3-goal game with 11 minutes to go, but 3 fourth-quarter breaks as the Union forced to just take deep shots. Incredible grab by Lance. Gets it back into the hands of Charlie First, who's been a captain of the Chicago team in the past. And the Union turn it over one more time. We are in the final minute. The Empire are going to pick up the 100th win in franchise history, and it might be the greatest win yet. Whistles blow and a travel on that huck, so the disc is coming back with 44 seconds left.
Travel with under a minute to go in a 7-goal game.
Chicago didn't come here to finish second, but they earned a lot of respect with the way they played against the Summit and the way they defended, even though they couldn't get a ton of turns against New York. It was suffocating pressure, and somehow the Empire wriggled out of it time after time after time. Fortin looking for his 3rd assist of the period, and he's got it to Mike Drost, the only member of the Empire who's played in all 19 playoff games in franchise history.
And that throw goes up from one of the new members of this Empire team. Mike Drost, a legend in New York. Once a superstar on the team, now an incredible piece of their depth. And players like Ethan Fortin, some of the new members of this team, have elevated everyone. Not just the depth, not just the second D-line. It's the top players. It's Jack Williams, it's Ryan Osgard. Those guys are playing better because the players around them have been playing better.
Charlie Hoppus and Anthony Nunez felt the pressure. Charlie Hoppus said he watched the Flyers game from last year 15 times. Anthony Nunez has never watched it. Different styles. Mike Kabira has the block. It's only a matter of time now for New York. This trickles out of bounds. What a season.
Just icing on the cake right now for a perfect season.
Well, there's the 8th turnover of the night. But if there's not another one, New York's pair of championships will both come in scintillating offensive showcases. Peaking at the right time 3 years ago in San Jose. And then again here in Madison. Ross Barker zips it out the back. 1 second officially remaining. New York needs one more throw to complete the perfect season. One of the co-owners of the franchise, Paul Stevens, said, "We're not chasing a championship, we're chasing history." The New York Empire have made history with their second perfect season and their second championship. The head coaches are drenched, and the New York Empire are champions of the AUDL again.
Historic defensive performances this weekend from New York. Incredible playmaking ability, incredible offense. Not much more else to say. This is historic. There's some talk about whether or not this is going to be the best season by an AUDL team in history. I think so.
8 for 12. D-line break chances. Breaks converted 67% of the time. And against a top 3 offense in the league. Truly remarkable. And against a Chicago team that was playing quite well. You know, there were the drops, yes, but those 4 drops do not add up to an 8-goal loss. New York was phenomenal.
And it was closer than 8. It was a 3-goal game with 11 minutes to play, and the Empire closed on a 6-1 burst. With the D-lines getting the job done, New York will hoist the championship trophy for the second time in the past 3 seasons, and this one extra sweet after what happened in the finals against the Flyers a year ago. Brian, what does this moment feel like?
Feels incredible. I mean, I'm for Charlie Hoppus and Anthony Nunez to get to the mountaintop. No one can ever take it away from you. You are champion for the rest of your life.
Let's go down to Megan Tormey with the MVP of this AUDL championship game, Jack Williams. Megan?
Thanks so much, Evan. Jack, you just won the championship game. How are you feeling?
Oh, I'm pumped. I'm so proud of this team. I'm so proud of all the guys. Yeah, I'm just elated, and I'm so happy for everyone on this team that worked so hard to be here, so hard for this moment, and it proved wire to wire season. Feels incredible.
There was no question about the team's talent going into this season. It was just a matter of building the program appropriately and everyone being on the same page in the same moment. And you did that both yesterday and today. Talk a little bit about the team emotion going into today's game.
Yeah, I think, we had a lot to prove. We lost last year, and that left a bitter taste in our mouth for sure. And obviously we have a lot of talent on this team, and it would be easy just to rely on that talent, but that's why I'm so proud of these guys, because everyone on the team has worked so incredibly hard for this moment, and it proved. I mean, we dominated the playoffs, and I'm so proud of them for working so hard, and I'm just stoked.
What was it like being on the sideline, watching the continuous defensive pressure from your teammates, both the individual performances and just as a unit? And how did that make your job on the offense feel?
I love watching our defense play. That's the biggest motivation to go down and score, just so we get to watch the show again. Our defensive line is the best of all time, in my opinion. They just relentless pressure. We went up against some incredible offenses, Chicago and Raleigh this weekend, and we proved that, or they proved that they are the best defensive line of all time, in my opinion. So, yeah.
Well, we were all enjoying watching you just run absolutely everywhere on the field. Tell me a little bit about your mindset as you step into these big games and know that you potentially have to shoulder a large responsibility despite your depth and just being able to perform when the team needs you.
Yeah, I try to get open when I can. I just wait for eye contact. Everyone else.
That's what you get for being good.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's incredible. I love this team. Yeah, I said I have the easy part. We got a bunch of workhorses on the offensive line, and I just get open when people look at me, and I just try my best to go get the disc and give it back to our workhorses. So, yeah, the job feels easy, and, we have so much talent. It's not hard to do.
So there was so much talk about the lead into the game against Carolina because you had a year to think about it, yet you had less than 24 hours to think about your matchup against Chicago. What were some of the things that you were focusing on dialing in between last night and tonight?
Yeah, I think, obviously Raleigh was the focus going into this weekend. Have to take care of that first, and then we were going to see who we were going to play. We knew Chicago had a ton of talent. We knew that their D-line was very big, very athletic. We thought we had the upper hand in quickness, and so that's what we tried to utilize. And on the defensive end, we just give people their matchups, and we know that they're going to win those matchups because we have so many ballers on defense. So that was the easy part. And then, just sort of getting the O-line prep for what we were going to face. And our O-line, Elliott got out of those double teams all the time, and our O-line took care of business.
I'm glad you highlighted Elliott's performance. It was spectacular. He's facing the double team. Are there any other performances that just astounded you tonight, even though you have a very talented team?
Yeah, I thought Charles Weinberg played incredible. He was getting open all over the place, and then his hucks were on point today. He hit Lithio for a couple releases that were really big for us, and he's an underappreciated piece on our team, and he played incredible like we knew he would, and just shout out to Charles.
Well, a million congrats to New York for just a fantastic performance this weekend. Truly a pleasure to watch, so congratulations.
Thank you.
Evan, back up to you.
Well, that bath after a championship win has to be invigorating in so many ways, and all of his teammates are wearing 11 jerseys. That's for championship weekend 11, but it might as well be for Jack Williams, the MVP of this championship effort.
He's unstoppable. He just, he likes to keep things simple. He says, when people look at me, I get open, and that's a little bit true, but in the biggest moments, he delivers. Throws, tough catches, getting open. Incredible performance by him.
Leads New York in yards, 478 yards, 5 assists, 2 goals, and 3 hockey assists. Domination from Jack Williams. And how many times did he bail them out with an incredible reset cut? And that's negative yardage. Amazing stuff.
So New York 15-0. They complete the perfect season for the second time. Let's go down to Megan Tormey and Steve Hall, the commissioner of the league, for the championship trophy presentation.
So congratulations, Jack, for being named championship weekend's MVP. You have been a superstar. You have been the heart of the offense for the New York Empire. On behalf of TNS, we'd like to present you a check for $5,000 of their cryptocurrency tokens.
Wow. Incredible.
Well done, Jack. Congratulations.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. That's awesome. Well deserved. Well deserved. We'd like to give a big shout out to the Chicago Union. They have been absolutely incredible. We'd like to ask CJ O'Brien, their owner, hopefully to come on out. Oh, Dave Woods is coming on out here. Getting a little love from his team. Dave, congratulations. Absolutely incredible weekend. Dominant game Friday night. You guys laid it out here on the line. I'm sure you wanted more. We're very confident you guys will be back. And congratulations on being the runner-up for Championship Weekend 11. Thanks. And on behalf of TNS, our official cryptocurrency partner, we'd like to present you an award for $5,000 of their tokens. Well done, Dave. Well done, CJ. Well done, Chicago Union. Well done. Well, we have got a great award to give tonight to Stevens family. Can I get the Stevens family and everybody come on up? This is truly a family affair. The Stevens are incredible. Big round of applause for them. Wow, what can we say? Another undefeated season for the New York Empire. 15-0 in 2022. Absolutely incredible. Dominant performance in the season, out of the season. Winning 2 of the last 3 AUDL championships. Yeah. So well done, 2022 champions. And Barb, just to make sure you know how much we appreciate you, the AUDL and Team S would like to present the Empire for a check for $25,000 of their tokens tonight. Well done. Well done, Barb. Well done, Paul. Great to meet you. All right. Thank you, Madison. Enjoy.
All right. Thanks so much, Evan. Back to you.
That championship trophy is headed back to New York City for the second time. They were the favorites all season long. They certainly faced adversity, mostly in the East Division final against DC at championship weekend, a 6-goal win against Carolina and an 8-goal win over Chicago. And the New York Empire are the AUDL champions for 2022. What a season it has been. 161 games. We've been with you every week on Fox Sports 2. We appreciate you coming along the journey with us. Go to the AUDL.com to learn more. Hopefully we'll see you at the All-Star Game in Portland in November and next spring for the 2023 season. The Empire will be the defending champs. For our entire broadcast crew, producer Luke Johnson, director Ian Lunger, replay operator Ani Benson, Roman Jennings, our phenomenal gimbal operator. For Brian Jones, Charlie Eisenhood, Megan Tormey, I'm Evan Lettler saying so long from Madison. The Empire are the AUDL champions for 2022.